What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Knives of the Round Table. My name is Marco, and today we're gonna do another versus battle. I haven't done one of these in a while, and it's hard to find two knives that you want to pit against each other, other than kind of randomly pit them against each other. But I try to bring, knives that, that maybe you're kind of on the fence about which one you want to buy. So in this case, I'm doing the small Sebenza versus the small Inkosi. Now, I have done this battle for the large version of these knives, okay? And because this is a recent acquisition for me, the small Sebenza, I was kind of surprised about some stuff on the Sebenza, so I decided to do a versus of the small version of the knives as well. I'm gonna link up at the top towards the end if you want to see the video for the large one. But these are the categories that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about materials, action, ergonomics, fit and finish, cutting aesthetics, and value. Now, all of that said, I'm going to focus on the differences because these are obviously both Chris Reeve knives. So there's some things that are going to be ties, but I made a promise that there would be no ties in any of my battles. So at the end, I will choose a winner. So kind of stick around. So let me first talk and say that I'm not going to be talking about this specific version of the knife and this specific version of the knife. I'm going to be talking in general about the knives. In other words, yeah, this one has wood inlays, this one has carbon fiber, but you can find a plain version of the Inkosi, a plain version of the Sebenza. You can find micarta inlays for both. There's some things that you can't find. I don't think there's wood inlaid version of the Inkosi. So because I think there's a little bit more. There's just, and let me say this, and both of these are titanium frame locks, and nowadays you can find them with both. You can find them with Magna Cut blades. So the only difference is that I think that you have a tiny little bit more options in the Sebenza lineup than you do in the Inkosi lineup. So for the materials, I'm gonna give the win to the small Sebenza. And the reason is you can find a carbon fiber version of the small Sebenza. You can find wood inlays. You can find micarta inlays plain. You can find all of the engraving ones. So you have the materials. The quality of materials are very similar, especially in the blade, but you got a little bit more options over here. Now, we're going to talk action. And action, so one of the main difference between the Inkosi and the Sebenza is, I don't know if you can see, but in here you can see a very large phosphor bronze washer. And you can see it peeks out. Hopefully that comes across. Let me see if I can get you an angle. You can see it right there. So the phosphor bronze washer on the Inkosi is much larger than what you get in the Sebenza. Now, what that does is the reason for that is because the Inkosi is meant to be a harder use knife, and you can see it's got a larger pivot screw. You can see that versus the Sebenza. So what you have is a much more robust washer, and what ends up happening is that these are not fast knives, right? These are not kind of fidgety knives. So you have this hydraulic action, this glassy smooth, but for whatever reason I find that the action on the Inkosi is a little bit better. It's even though the blade it's actually longer on the Sebenza. I didn't know this. I'm going to show you some size comparisons. And you can see the Sebenza is almost 3 inches, just a 16th shy of 3 inches. But if you take a look at the Inkosi, you can see that this is 2 3/4 inches. It's significantly smaller. So usually a larger blade means a better action, but in this case the blades are so light and so short that really the action is kind of determined by the phosphor bronze washer. So let me get this thing out of the way, and I'm going to show you one of the things that really surprised me. Is I thought, you know, the Sebenza, the regular Sebenza and the regular Inkosi are very similar in size, but the small Sebenza and the small Inkosi, the Sebenza is actually noticeably bigger than the Inkosi. Now, granted, these are the Tanto version and the Insingo version, or the sheep's foot version of the blade, and you can find all of these in drop points, but all of them have these kind of overall dimensions. So the Sebenza is actually noticeably bigger than the small Sebenza is noticeably bigger than the small Inkosi. And we get to ergonomics. Now, I distinctly remember that the ergonomics, and this is a little bit of a spoiler for those of you who want to watch the regular Sebenza versus the regular Inkosi. The ergonomics on the Inkosi I preferred much better than the Inkosi was better than the Sebenza. Now the problem is that I wear large gloves, and for my large hands, the finger grooves on the small Inkosi is just too small. In other words, when I put my fat finger on it, you can see that this finger groove is not big enough. The second finger groove is not big enough, and I end up with, you know, with kind of an uncomfortable hold on this knife. If you have small hands, I believe that the ergonomics on the small Inkosi will work for you. But as it is, it's very restrictive for large hands, okay? I think it would be maybe even a little bit restrictive for medium hands, okay? This is actually, these grooves are pretty darn small. I mean, you can see my fat finger, look at that, you know? And I'm putting pressure because you're gonna be purchasing the knife, right? So, or you're gonna be holding the knife, you know, firmly. So that's what your finger does, and you know, so it's not very comfortable if you have, I would say, medium or above or higher or larger hands. I don't think that the ergonomics of the Inkosi are gonna work for you. In this case, the neutral handle of the Sebenza, you know, because it doesn't have those grooves and because it is a little bit longer, I actually get a full 4-finger purchase on this knife. So this is a more comfortable ergonomic. So I'm gonna give the win to the small Sebenza in this case. And the reason for that is I can only do ergonomics with the hand that I was given, right? But I would say that if you have medium or larger hands, I think you're gonna agree with me. I would give the win if you have a small hand. If you have small hands, then I would say that the small Inkosi would have better ergonomics for you. I can tell you that when I did the regular Sebenza, regular Inkosi, the ergonomics was a win for the Inkosi because those finger grooves just felt so good in my hand. Okay, fit and finish. Here's where we're gonna do. I'm not gonna talk about much, right? It's we can all agree that the same manufacturer doing the same kind of price point on these knives. You know, they have the same, many of the same material finishes. You know, they get the same treatment. So it's a tie because Chris Reeve is making, it's making all of these. Now the cutting, these have very similar blades, but they're ground a little bit differently. This one is with an ever so slight hollow. I think you can see that the Sebenza has a little bit of a hollow grind, and that's the case. And that's the case for drop point version of the knife as well. And this one has a flat grind, and what that does is it makes this one more of a hard use knife, right? Because the hollow, because the blade comes like this, it makes it very slicey, but also kind of a thinner, weaker edge. So you can get, it's slicier, but it's less robust than what you get. This is a flat grind, or I should say a saber grind. You get a flat here, and then it's flat ground from here to there. So you get a flat grind. So you got more material support than when you get the the hollow grind. So the cutting is a win for the Sebenza. It is just slicier, but if you're looking for something that is more, robust, if you're going to use it for a little bit harder use, that's the intended use of the Inkosi. That's what it was meant to do, to do a little bit harder tasks. Now, aesthetics, it's kind of it falls kind of on the same category as materials, right? The aesthetics you get in the Sebenza, in the Inkosi, you have carbon fiber, you have micarta inlays, and you have the plain version. I think that's all that you can do. On the Sebenza, like I said, you get the plain, you got the micarta, you got everything that you have here, plus you have the engraved, the unique graphics, the custom graphics, the it's not called Starry Night, it's like a snowy landscape. You have a whole bunch of different options in the Sebenza. So aesthetically, there's just so many more options on the small Sebenza than you get on the Inkosi, and that's because the Sebenza is more of an EDC that a lot of people could carry, and this is more meant to be as a kind of a harder use working knife, so you won't get as fancy with the Inkosi options, and even less if you go up to the Omnumsan. But between these two, the aesthetics you're gonna have, they're gonna look remarkably the same, other than for the finger groups, but you're gonna have many more options when you do in the Sebenza. And now we get to value, and here it's gonna be I'm gonna give the value to the Inkosi, and the value is how much do you get for what you pay for. So if you buy the plain version of the Sebenza and the plain version of the Inkosi, or you pick the micartas and you equivalent trims, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If you get the micarta Sebenza and the micarta Inkosi, or the plain and the plain, I think you get I think that it's harder to do these ergonomics on the Inkosi, even though that they're not for me. But I think there's value in these ergonomics. I think you get a larger pivot, larger phosphor bronze washers. I think you get equal materials. I think you get equal fit and finish, all of that. But you get a little bit of a more robust knife. So, and they're similar price point, especially if you've picked the same trims. So I think on a 1-to-1, I think that the value is better on the Inkosi. That said, like I said, you get many more options for the Sebenza. So this is up to you. But if in the battle of the small versions of the knife, I'm gonna declare the Sebenza. And this is the Sebenza 31, by the way. You can tell by, well, the full size inlay, and the fact that it doesn't have the hole here. So this is so maybe I should say that 31. So I'm gonna give the win to the small Sebenza because it won in materials, ergonomics, cutting, aesthetics. He won in 4 categories. They tied in 1 category, and the small Inkosi only won in 2 categories. Now, all of that said, we're really splitting hairs here, right? These are just excellent knives from an excellent manufacturer with outstanding reputation. But I think that if your hands are, on the small side of medium and smaller, you may find that you like the small Inkosi better. But I think from medium up, this is gonna be too small for you. The only reason I'm keeping this one around is because my son, you know, he really likes the Inkosi, the small Inkosi. So I think I might give it to him. But otherwise, it would have left my collection just because it's much too small. I can't really use it with these finger grooves the size that they are. Well, guys, so for this versus battle, we have a winner, and that is the Sebenza 31, the small Sebenza 31. Hopefully this has been helpful to you if you're trying to make the decision of which one of these two knives to get. If you do, then like and subscribe, and until I see you at the next one, take care.